The thing is, when I look at your secret view paintings, I feel a little bit guilty.
I hear that a lot.
Is that on purpose?
Absolutely on purpose. My name is Sarah Horowitz. I am a visual artist based in San Francisco. I work in acrylic, monoprinted tissue, and found paper. So I do a lot of collage in addition to painting.
You live in both San Francisco and Valencia. You have your
Yes.
home studio here as well.
Yes.
How this life situation changes the way you look at cities.
In San Francisco, one of the main things that I paint is views out the back of people's windows or out the back of their homes, their porches, their patios. And in San Francisco, a lot of the blocks are arranged in squares so that the back, what you see is people's backyards and gardens, and then across the way, the opposite streets, patios or balconies. So I end up painting a lot of back windows and a lot of things that people would not necessarily want you to see, the things that they store in the back, their kayaks, their broken this and that and the other, but I find it a very interesting view. Now, here in Valencia, I have found that that is typically not the way homes are set up, or at least flats here in the city. It seems like there is more neighborly camaraderie because, at least in my flat, everybody hangs their laundry out, including me. So we're all doing something together. There's a friendliness. Nobody is weirded out, I don't think, by the fact that somebody is out on the back patio. Whereas in San Francisco, sometimes maybe you say hi to the person that you see across the way or in the balcony next door, and a little creepy.
What draws you to this desire to see these forbidden spaces?
Partly I feel curious, like we all are, about how other people live, but also I find the emotional feeling of being inside and looking out, like maybe you're inside and you wish you were someplace else, very interesting. Or maybe you feel like, on the other hand, being inside is the safe place to be and you don't want to be excluded or on the outside. It's just a very interesting dynamic to explore.
The thing is, when I look at your secret view paintings, I feel a little bit guilty for looking into this house.
I hear that a lot.
Is that on purpose?
Absolutely on purpose, because it's a little naughty, isn't it? I mean, you're not really supposed to be looking, but it's right there. And it's part of living in a city. It's part of living with neighbors. And so I just find the view really fascinating.
Your visual language in general is dominated by buildings.
Yes.
Do you feel like they can show something, like emotionally or politically? Do you feel like the buildings have this opportunity that maybe human figures couldn't do?
Yeah, because I think when you include people in the visual plane, naturally viewers are going to be drawn to them as the human subjects. But leaving them out, you really are left with concentrating and ruminating on what the buildings and the dynamic between the viewer and the buildings is trying to convey. Especially when I do my gender wage gap paintings, that is political in that I'm trying to make a statement about wage inequality.
Is that the one where some part of the paintings are covered up?
They're actually not covered up, they're left out. I tape some Tyvek over whatever percentage I'm leaving out. So if the substrate is birch, for example, then that part of the birch panel is not going to be touched. I'm going to paint the whole painting, and then I'm going to peel off that Tyvek and see the empty space beneath it. Because in the United States, at least, women are not paid as much as men, and this has been a chronic problem since women entered the workforce. And it has still not really gotten better. In fact, over the last 2 years, the amount that women make compared to men has actually fallen.
You have another series, the latest one, called Oblivion. And in that one, you quote, or you say, either, that privacy, like privacy is a good life, or
Yes,
privacy is related to a good life.
absolutely. So the other side of looking in on people's private lives or looking through their windows is kind of like, well, what is that privacy even for anyway? And is it worthwhile? And I got a lot of these ideas from a book called The Right to Oblivion, Privacy and the Good Life. It is by a professor at Stanford University in California named Lowry Presley. He argues that not only should we be talking about privacy in positive terms that have nothing to do with secrecy. In other words, you know, on our phones we've all got privacy settings, but really what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep other people and corporations and governments from accessing our personal information, our buying habits and so forth. He's saying, let's take a bigger, more expansive framework for thinking about privacy and realize that it has so many benefits to the individual and society at large, and it's something that we want to protect.
Not just the word privacy, interesting here, but also oblivion. Like, oblivion is usually a negative word, but in this context it's
Yes,
positive.
he uses the word oblivion. He has specifically chosen that word oblivion to describe that feeling when you're finally alone, nobody is watching you, you're not being recorded. As a person, you're able to, what he says, come apart. As he says in another interview, dance like nobody's watching, you know, you've heard that. And it's a very creative state, the state of not being edited. It's the raw soil from which so much can germinate.
Yeah. Do you think that the modern person maybe has the right to oblivion is the same, but the capacity we have to be forgotten in a way, because first of all, we're always connected to each other. Also, the internet doesn't really forget anything. So I feel like
Right.
maybe a long time ago, it was easier to be in that state for longer.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. And at one point, when the portable camera came up on the scene and suddenly you could take snapshots in public, there was a panic like you wouldn't believe. People are recording me. I'm out on the street and they're taking pictures. No one should be allowed to do that. But of course we do that all the time, don't we? Also, even when we're alone, if we've got our phones with us, we're kind of not alone. In a way, always thinking, I wonder who's trying to get in touch with me. I wonder if somebody's trying to get in touch with me, even when we are physically alone.
In this series, you did something you don't usually do, which is not building themed paintings.
Right. So what I was thinking about was, if I'm going to think about oblivion in the way that Lowry Presley talks about oblivion and coming apart, what would that even look like visually? And so I did start with black, because I mean, I know it's a cliche, but I had to start somewhere. And I thought, well, that's where I'm going to begin experimenting, is with black, with no buildings, with gestural lines, just to see where it takes me. And I think I will continue to explore that when I get back to San Francisco, especially in terms of size, you know, making much larger paintings and seeing where they go with the same theme.
You're also working with monoprinted tissue and found paper other than acrylic. Especially the found paper, is it not very fragile? Like, not a hard material to work with?
It is so hard to work with because if it's very thin, using gel medium or matte medium, even Mod Podge, it's gonna crinkle, it wrinkles. Glue sticks can help. There's another paste called Yes paste that is archival and can stick it down without making those little ripples. You are right that it takes some thought and care.
To me, the reason this is interesting is because what you're mostly working with is buildings and structure. Then you are also working with these very fragile materials. So I feel like there is an interesting contrast there.
Yeah, wow, I never thought of that, but I agree.
Almost if you were trying to like deconstruct the way you're normally painting.
Yeah, interesting when I find myself trying to make a composition using found paper or some of the monoprinted tissue that I have created with the gel plate. I often find myself drawn to 90-degree angles and straight lines, and that's also very hard to do. Sometimes I find myself putting down first a layer of some kind of a grid, mostly graph paper, and then collaging on top of that just to keep the straight lines. And why it's so important to me, I don't know. Maybe it's an OCD thing, but I really do like those edges. And it makes me think that I have actually done quite a few cityscapes, so not realistic, but sort of imaginative, fictive cityscapes with found paper, like pieces from magazines and so forth, that turn into a skyline. So that's kind of a blending of both of the series. This is a view that I was able to access through the local Air Valencia. Dr. Will Schussen arranged for this particular view. This window looks out onto an old church, which is actually now the Ceramic Museum. So I was really entranced with the greenery on the inside, the greenery on the outside, and the fact that this was a doorway. So I'm looking through the door, at this window, through the window, and then to the building beyond.